Okay, folks, let's continue. And in this lesson, I'm gonna add my uh, plane effectors and maybe our shader effector to our main cloner just to make our viewport a bit more nicer. I'm just going to my setting, render setting, Control B, and make sure that the film aspect is HD. It just gets it a bit more better. I'm gonna create a simple basic material for the floor, and let's apply this to our studio floor. So we're just having a bit more better time seeing what's going on. So there we go. That's great. Or why we don't add this thing to our cloner? See if this is gonna work at all. Quick shading. Okay, that's better. Now, the first thing is the plane effectors that we have right now, and if you take a look, okay, I think we're going to hide this studio because it's really make it really hard to see what's going on. Okay, now let's for this first plane effector, let's go to our top view. I want to have something like this for my main, my first plane effector, so not too big. Okay, let's see. I actually need to understand where exactly I want to start adding these plane effectors, and so that's why we need to enable our main clones and see what's going on with them. And let's just go to sort of medium level of details and enable the studio for a quick second. Now, as you can see, this is our first burst, and I think about frame 100 is a good point. Okay, we're gonna start at frame 100, and let's again disable our studio, alt and double click on this, and also uh, disable our main cloner. There we go. And back to high level of detail. Now for this first planar, let's name it plane 01. I'm gonna go to its fall off, change the size on X. I don't want to be that big. And let's move it a bit down here and move it on Z axis. Go to its coordinates. And I'm gonna select all the positions while you and control click on that. And go to something like 250 maybe. And now I can move this guy down here to this side. Okay, now you get this sort of motion. That's too much definitely, so I'm going to display effector parameters and go to something like this. And also in the fall off tab, I want to have much more fall off. Go to the parameters again, and this is what you can have here. And one of the things that I really want to have, I don't want to see them quite in this nice, perfect motion. I want a bit more of and regularity. So for that matter, what you can do is add a random effector and use this as your waiter. So what I mean, I just put this random effector here. Make sure it has been applied to your random effector before the plane effector for this matter. And go to your random effector. Make sure turn off all the parameters. We're just going to use this weight transform, and it will add the randomization to our clones and makes our clone have different weights. So let's just go to something quite small, something like maybe 10%, and let's see. That's definitely good. Okay, so that's not too bad. So what I mean by weight transform, if you select your cloner right now and go to your transform and change the display to weight, and let's just take a look. Hopefully we can see them. Let's see. A random parameter. If you add more weight, if you take a look close, very close, you can see some of our clones. See, go to 100. As you can see, some of the clones are yellow, some of them are orange, some of them are red. And this is what this random, this weight transform does in the random effector. You can have the weight transform for different effectors, and each effector, based on its functionality, basically does different job to our cloners. For the random effector, basically to randomize the weight, so the effectors that come after this random effector will take into consideration the weight of those clones and act based on them. So that's why, for example, when it's 100, you get this quite a lot of variation. That's too much, definitely. I'm just going to something like maybe 8-9%, and there you go, you get this nice effect. This is our first plane effector. Let's me go there, duplicate this plane effector, and this is going to be our second plane effector, and make sure just go to transform and display to none, and add this second plane effector to the list. And for this one, let's go to our coordinates and select this second plane effector. I'm just going to control shift click on this parameter so we don't have any effect on that. And let's move this second plane effector to this side this time, and maybe I just make it a bit bigger. Just let's go to its original size 100 and go to the coordinates about maybe here. I'm going to go to my coordinates, create a keyframe, and 250, maybe something like this. Move it there, and now you get this. I think the random waiter is really too much, so let's go something like 3%, 2%, and there we go. And the next thing is that you need to, okay, so let's select this plane effector, and now we have this sort of motion. About here I want to add another plane effector, and let's add this plane effector. I'm gonna rename it to plane 03. Go to the cloner, make sure it has been added to the list of your effectors. For this plane effector, again, I'm going to select it and control shift click on here so it gets rid of all of the motions. I'm going to select this guy and put it in here, and this time I'm just going to move it move it something like this. Okay, that's a nice simple motion. Okay, I just think we just need the X position, so just see where exactly we want to start our motion. I think something like here. So let's click on this X position, and in something like maybe 100 frames, and we go to something like this, control click it there, and I think I really want to select these two keyframes and just make sure it happens a bit quicker. I want to have this kind of overlap with the motion of our two other plane effector. And also what I'm going to do So select this third plane, go to the fall off in the X direction, and the effect of this one I want to be not that big, so let's put something like 35. So there we go. So basically I use this plane effector to uh, kind of indicate to the viewer what is our logo, and the first indication would be this planer. As you can see, just let's see what the motion looks like right now. I'm gonna hit play, even though it's not gonna be in real time, but it's gonna be just useful here. Okay, great. Now I'm going to just duplicate this plane effector, and this is going to be our plane effector number 4, and make sure it gets added to your list. And just I'm going to select this guy, right click on this, and show tracks. In here, make sure you also have your third plane effector. I'm just going to offset these two guys. So select this fourth plane effector, and I want to this fourth one to happen a bit after the third one. So if I go through, you can see, I think we sort of need, you see now those two plane effectors act this way, but I think right now it's just too much. Let's see. Okay, and I want to make sure that this one, let's actually duck our timeline in here, and middle mouse click on this button here, it will kind of duck it here. So now we have our timeline in here. Now the plane effector number 4, I want to have a bit more effects. Let's go something like 85, and now you get, this is I just want to make sure that this first point, let's just make sure it's about here, go to its coordinates and set a keyframe, and for this one to set sorry, set keyframes here, select the fourth one, and let's just see, it's, there we go, put it down here so it's not get affected. Okay, and now we should have a nice look. There we go. This is this problem yet, and it is definitely this one. So let's don't have any keyframe back here, but if you take a look, let's just set a keyframe here too, and this, I think that's because that, okay, I'm going to actually delete this keyframe here, select my third plane effector, and hopefully we can solve this problem. That's because the key interpolations, but we're really trying to solve it, and hopefully, oh my god, what's wrong? I think we have 2 keyframes there. Looks like though. Yeah. So we have these 2 keyframes. As you can see, this one caused the problems. Let's delete it, and now we should be okay. There we go. Let's enable the fourth plane effector, NB, and I changed my to isopalm. You should be able to see the effect. There we go. And let's just hit play and see what we have here. And now we can definitely add something like delay effector to make the effect much more nicer. And now it's time to add the shader effector. And as you can see, this guy still has some problems. Both of them, we really need to change the place of their last keyframe. So let's move it completely here. And for the last one, again, this is where our last keyframe is, and there we go. Select the plane effector, coordinate. Okay, in the next lesson, we're going to be adding our shader effector. So let's just enable our studio and enable our main clones, and we can now see what's going on. Oh yeah, that's going to be too much to see, but as you can see, we have those nice clones, and also we got these other clones around it, so we are sort of good to go. Let me start working on the next lesson.